All right, good morning, everybody. Okay, so last class we started going through the 24 with the breathing. We stopped at the white crane spreads wings. So once we get there, we'll continue on with that. And yeah, class will proceed as normal. Feet together, right fist, left palm, show courtesy. And standing meditation, we're going to try the waving hands like clouds meditation again. So remember to keep your eye focused on the center of your palm as you turn. And you can do this one of two ways. You can either breathe in twice and then breathe out twice, or breathe in one way and breathe out the other way. That much is up to you relative to your own breath capacity. And begin. We're going to move on to the regular Qigong. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Breathe in. Out. In. Out. Breathe in, sink down low. Out. In. Out. In. Out. And the closing. Breathe in. And out. Now, before we continue, I just want to re-elaborate on the neutral position. So remember, the positioning of your feet is important, and not so much, well, just as much. The pointing straight forward, yes, but the weight needs to be distributed evenly, not far back and not far forward, which is easy to do with the movement. And naturally, with the movement, yes, sometimes you do want to shift a little bit and then shift back. But for the most part, you want to try and make sure the weight is evenly distributed throughout your feet. Now, the next thing is your knees are buckled. You don't want your knees buckled too far forward because you don't want them extending beyond your feet. So if this is me standing straight, slightly buckled. Now, this is also probably the most important one. Tailbone needs to be tucked to create that straight line between your top of your head and your spine. Now, that this is straight, the chest, it's not pushed out, it's sunken in. Not too much to create that S shape here, but just enough to keep the spine straight. Now, the chin tucked in as well. And this is going to apply to everything we do, the form, the stances, the Qigong. So as we get to the 8 brocades, or even something as simple as this, keep that in mind to keep the position and body alignment on point. So, and try to maintain it as we do the warm up. So as we do our next stretch up, try and stay in this position. Stretch up. And down. Up. Down. Right side. Switch. Switch. And switch. Neck rotations. Other direction. Hands up, clench the fist, stretch the finger. Wrist rotations in, out. Shoulder rotation forward. Back. Slap the kidney. Chest. Center. Hip rotations. Other direction. And keep the feet separated. Grab the ball waist turning. Remember to keep your eyes focused on the imaginary ball. Breathe in as you go up, breathe up as you go down. And breathe in. And out. Breathe in. Out. In. Out. Other direction, breathe in. Out. Breathe in. Out. Breathe in. And out. Stand up. Feet together. Knee rotation. Other direction. Separate the feet. Knee rotations in. Out. And stand up. Ankle rotations, right side, inside. Other direction. And switch. Inside circles. And outside. Then shake it out. Slap the left side. Switch. Legs. Lower back. Stomach washing. Top of the head. And heat up the hands. Massage the face, forehead. Eyes. Nose. Mouth. neck, thyroid, kidneys, and shake it out. 8 brocades. Remember, try to stay in that neutral position as you can. And when we get into the horse stance, it's the same. Obviously, the feet change, but it's the same story with regard to alignment. You want to keep the pelvis tucked in, chest sunk, and chin tucked in. You don't want to overdo it, but you don't want to underdo it either. All right. Number 1, holding up the sky for the triple warmer. Breathe in. And out. Breathe in. Out. Breathe in. Out. In. Out. In. Out. Last one. In. And out. Next, we move on to number 2. Before we go on, something I wanted to mention. So I have to relook at what each exercise is for. I remember vaguely in my head, but I don't teach it as often as I do. Some things have kind of just slipped away, and I've just been doing the exercises on autopilot. Something that helps some people is visualizing what we're actually doing. And not so much with the exercises. Obviously, you're not visualizing yourself holding up the sky. But, let's take exercise 2. As you go out, you're stretching. So you're stretching out the body, which affects the organs that get affected when you open up the chest, the liver, the heart, the lungs. So as you open up, visualize the organs stretching. And as you close up, visualize what's actually happening, the contraction. Now, for some people, and I've actually read this a couple times, energetically, what helps them is to visualize as they're inhaling, as you're exhaling, imagine like you're exhaling some sort of like black ugliness, some toxicity, so that as you exhale, you're letting it out. And as you inhale like some gold goodness. Personally, I don't do that because it throws me off. I'd rather focus on the organs. But depending on how you operate, one way might help you to get the most out of the exercise than the other. Some people may just need to focus on the movement as they're getting it, starting to understand it. But as you progress, you can start adding the visualization. So that's one, you can visualize the organs expanding and contracting. Two, you're inhaling gold, like particles, I guess, and exhaling black toxic. Then the third way is to visualize where the energy is traveling to. So generally speaking, you want to bring the energy up from the ground and move it to where it's supposed to go. Now, number two, which we're going to get into, you're more than anything, you want to work your organs. So the energy goes up and expands out. Don't even worry about the hands. You want the chi, the energy, to affect the organs more than the rest of the body. So by doing so, as you expand, the chi spreads out into the organs, and they say the chi follows the eyes. The eyes are correlated to a specific organ, which is why you keep the eyes focused on the finger and then in between. So I'll be explaining what the rest of the exercises are for, but just, I know it's a lot of information, but just try and hold on to bits and pieces. And as we go on, I'll re-elaborate and re-elaborate, and eventually you get the whole thing. Number two, pulling the bow and shooting the arrow. Breathe in. Out. Breathe in. Out. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. And the closing, breathe in. And out. Shake it out. Now, number three, pressing up and down for the stomach and the spleen. Same visualization. However, this time, what we're doing, stretching the stomach and compressing the spleen, and vice versa. Pressing the stomach, stretching the spleen. Now, from what I've heard, the more tense your muscles are, the less chi flows through it because it's tense. When your body is relaxed, like with the Tai Chi form, the energy flows a lot smoother. So, how does that correlate? If I'm stretching one side, that means this is the side that's being affected by the energy. I'm stretching my stomach so the chi can flow freer through here. There's no tension on this side. As opposed to the other side, which is compressed, I don't want the energy to flow on this side until I stretch it. So it's constantly shifting where the energy is being directed. So number three, pressing up and down for the stomach. And keep in mind, you can't just stop the energy flow, just like you can't stop your blood flow. But you can maximize where it's being directed. So when I say it restricts the flow, it's exactly that. It doesn't stop it, but it mitigates it and emphasizes one area more than the other. So just so that there's no confusion between, oh, it stops versus it keeps going. The energy flow doesn't stop. It doesn't stop until the day you die. But Here it's being maximized, here it's being minimized. That way, this side gets affected more, just like the stretch itself. This side's obviously the one getting the stretch, this side is not. And breathe in. Out. Breathe in. Out. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. And the closing. Breathe in. And out. Number 4, looking back. This one is emotional and context. This one's a lot harder. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. I don't really understand this one 100%. I know that when you do it, as you breathe in, you open the eyes wide. As you come back, you look forward. Now, the exercise in this is twofold. The organs that are being affected are those that get affected by those emotions. I don't know exactly which organs. I would have to look that up. But so this one's for more fear and anxiety. So your adrenal glands and things like that, that spike, I guess, your heart rate maybe. So as you're breathing in, this is a good exercise to do the visualization of breathing in gold particles and breathing out black particles. And also, what one of my brothers recommends doing is, as you're breathing in, visualize or think something good and something positive coming in, just like the gold particles. And as you exhale, think about whatever it is that's bad that you want to exercise, to let out. So try to keep that in mind. The more emotionally inclined exercises are a little bit more difficult to grasp conceptually because they're not rooted in what's tangible. But nonetheless, they are just as valuable. And breathe in. And out. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. In. out, in, out, and the closing. Breathe in and out. Shake it out. All right, number 5, wagging the tail. So this one is for the heart and the lining of the heart, the pericardium. So this one has 2 actions that help with the heart. So the first one is putting the hands on the knees this way. There's a pressure point in here that correlates directly to your heart. And secondly, so it's a little funny to explain. So chi enters the body, right? So it also exits it. And certain, which is partly why we stand like this. Now, when we breathe in, we can see it as us taking in the energy. As we breathe out, letting it out. Now, we have, so the way this was explained when I first learned it was that this exercise helps the heart get rid of excess chi, whatever that means. So when you go forward, you're letting out the excess chi, and as you go back, you're stabilizing. So certain exercises will contort your body to open up certain areas and to close up certain areas, dependent upon the exercise. Like number 3, stretch, compress, open, closed. So the point behind exercise 5, hence why it is called wag the tail, is because the chi is escaping through the anal cavity, and then as you come back, you're back to center. This is the same reason we keep this tucked in, to prevent chi leakage and to keep the spine in line, to not only prevent leakage, but to promote stronger circulation. So dependent upon how sensitive you are to these things, you may notice them, you may not. I am the type of person that's not hypersensitive. I know it, I can teach it, I practice it, but I don't like, I don't feel anything radiating. Not always, anyway. But again, it's good that you have the concept so that you know what to build towards. So number 5, wagging the tail. Breathe in. And out. Breathe in. Out. In. Out. In. And out. Shake it out. All right, number 6, jolting back to the immune system. Now, this one operates a lot like number 3 in that you're stretching and compressing. Now, as this is for the immune system, it affects said organs. But given the nature of the position, I assume a primary organ that's being affected is your kidneys in the your center of your back. So as you stretch down, this is all being stretched. So it's important that when you do this, you kind of relax. And I'm overdoing the relaxation at this point, but you want to relax. And if you can, bend your knees a little bit and put your hand on your feet. Putting the hand on the feet isn't necessarily required, but there's pressure points correlating to your kidneys on your feet. So in the hopes that you can stimulate them this way, it's suggested you put your hands on your feet. Now, next part, this is the stretch. Next part is the compress. So on the left hand, you jolt back. Now this is being compressed. Now keep in mind the yin and yang going on. So as I'm here, my stomach is what's being compressed. My back is what's being stretched. Now it's time to reverse it. My back is what's being compressed, as you probably feel the tension in the back, and this is being stretched out. So keep that in mind. Now, additionally, on the left hand, there's pressure points correlating to, again, your kidneys here, which is why I say this is strictly geared for the kidneys, this exercise. And try to keep this point warm. Whenever we used to have a cold or like sniffles or something, one of my senior instructors way back when, they used to massage that point a lot, and that would help to kind of alleviate some cold symptoms. So that's why that's there. I'm not exactly sure how to keep that point warm. I imagine it has a lot to do with visualizing and, maybe see the energy coming up and going up into that point and see what happens. I've not been successful in making that point warm, so maybe you guys can succeed where I have failed. Okay. Number 6. Breathe in. And out. Breathe in. And out. In. Out. In. Out. Breathe in. Out. In. Out. And the closing, breathe in. And out. Number 7, staring at the fist with angry eyes. So this one operates a lot like number 4, in that you open the eyes wide, you kind of have to visualize what's going on. Now, additionally with this one, staring at the fist with angry eyes. So this one is to exercise anger, frustration, pent up stuff. So a lot of times what happens with people when they get angry, what happens? They get tense. They like to, hit things and scream and, they're angry. So how does this exercise work? It's essentially the same thing. what happens? When someone's upset, they get tense, they're angry, they want to punch somebody in the face, and yeah. So you visualize it, you get angry, so to speak, and you tense up as you exhale. And what happens? You control it. You relax, and you inhale, and then you exercise it. Keep the anger, not the anger, the muscles tense. Open the eyes wide. Then what happens? You control it. You relax, and breathe in. So let's try it. Breathe in. And out. Breathe in. And out. Breathe in. And out. In. Out. Breathe in. And out. In. And out. Closing, breathe in. And out. Last one. Number 8, raising the energy to the crown for higher learning. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, I have no idea how this one works. In terms of higher learning, I understand the energetic circulation and concept. So, as you come up, the energy comes up and radiates. And it circles, the cycles rather, up and down with the body. In terms of higher learning, the only thing I can think of is, you're oxygenating your body, which oxygenates your brain and stimulates it that way. But I'm honestly not sure how this stimulates higher learning. It may not be learning in terms of a mental sense, it may be in a spiritual sense. So this exercise is a little confusing to me because it's not so descriptive in its purpose. But I imagine that, higher learning is more of a spiritual awareness than it is a, now I can understand calculus type of learning. So bear that in mind as we do the exercise and, see how it benefits you. And breathe in. And out. Breathe in. Out. Last one, breathe in. And out. Excellent work. Now, we're going to move on to our seated meditation. As we do our seated meditation, I want you to try and continue visualizing the energy flow. So, as we sit, now preferably sit in a chair, that way you can sit down and visualize the energy going from your feet up. But even if you sit down, it's more or less the same thing, just got to visualize a different pattern of energetic flow. Yeah, let's do it the way we've done before. Put our hands here and visualize the energy going up into the shoulders, down the arm, past the elbow, and into, just like we were doing with the wave hands like clouds, into the center of the palm. And remember with the sitting meditation to keep the eyes closed, and especially with the seated meditation, make sure the tip of the tongue is on the roof of the mouth. And begin. And open your eyes. And let's stretch. If you can, sit on the floor and butterfly stretch. If not, feel free to stay seated on the chair and just stretch one leg at a time in the same fashion. And at this point, you want to try, if you're doing butterfly stretch on the floor, to try and get your feet, your knees rather, as close to the ground as possible. A lot of times people start and they're like this. That's normal to be tense, but you want to give it a little bit of a bounce to gradually bring the knees down. And head down. If you're on a chair, you switch legs. If you're stretching on the floor, you want to try and get your forehead as close to your feet as possible. And right leg out. Stretch forward. If you're on the chair, you'd be doing the same. Just on the chair. You want to try and get your forehead close to your knee. And also feel free to vary up the way you're stretching. A lot of times people like to stretch forward and pull their foot back, which makes sense because it pulls the muscles on the bottom, which is how most of us stretch. But sometimes it's good to change it up and push forward. Just changes the dynamic of the stretch a bit, so you can play with both a little bit and see which one works. Sometimes pushing forward is a lot easier, and it helps you kind of get a little bit more progress in a passive sort of way. And switch. And open up a little bit, both feet, and stretch forward. Now, normally you'd want to open up as far back as you can. I don't have as much space as I'd like. So you want to try and make it almost as full a split as you can and stretch forward. And for some of you that are more flexible, it might help to keep your arms up as you go down and stretch. And right side, trying to get the head down to the knee. And if you're on the chair, just switch between the right and left leg being out. And switch. And shake it out, stand up slow. And grab the right foot. And stretch back. Remember, try not to let the foot go out and try not to keep the pelvis back. Keep the pelvis forward and the knees close together. And switch. And shake it out. All right, 24 postures. And Jesus, it's already 11. That's wild. Okay. Let's run through the form. Feet together, hands on the side. And begin. We're going to go from the beginning to the end. All right. And we are definitely over time. But there's so much more to teach. Okay. um, so let's, I don't want to go over that much more, but that's fine, I guess, right? Sure. All right, so I'm gonna just plant the seed and we'll go more in depth next class. So we're at the white crane spreads wings. So it's the same breathing pattern as grab the ball and brush the horse's mane beyond this point. So we're here. As you go back, you'll be inhaling, and as you go forward, you're exhaling. So as you retreat, breathe in. As you go forward, breathe out. Retreat, breathe in. Step forward, breathe out. And that covers the 3 brush, knee, and push. So breathing in as you go back, breathing out as you go forward. Now the next movement is more like a sigh, because if you just breathe in, then you're going to keep breathing in. So you're here, you can look at it as a quick, obviously not as aggressive, but I'm hoping that you can hear the breathing. So again, from white crane, breathe in as you go back, breathe out as you go forward. Breathe in as you go back, breathe out as you go forward. Last one, breathe in as you go back, breathe out as you go forward. Then when you strum the lute, in, out. I know that was a little rushed, but we are over time. And I'll go over it again next class. Yeah, so this happens sometimes, but it's important that you guys get the most information out of what we do. So sometimes having a class where I lecture a little bit, it's not the worst thing in the world because it helps to stimulate your growth. I encourage you guys to start, if you really want to, start doing some research at home about what we do. Look into how the energy works, look into the Tai Chi, look at the history, look at why it was invented, things like that. They A, give you a greater appreciation for what we practice, and B, give you a better understanding of how it's supposed to be practiced. So, I implore you to do some research. I got a friend of mine who I'm teaching Kung Fu. I'm like, I kind of give him weekly homework assignment because, and to me, it's reflective of a student that's serious about their practice. When I was a boy, not that I'm not a boy, but, when I was a younger man, I would be on the internet for hours just looking up Shaolin Temple history, philosophy, theory, and just collect and collect and collect more data. And it definitely gave me a better understanding and a better appreciation for what we practice. Now, given that I started Tai Chi as I was older, I haven't really looked too much into it online, but most of what I get is directly from my Sifu. So honestly, that's a lot more credible. Now, if you're going to look through it online, that's all fine and dandy. Just take everything with a grain of salt. As you know, the internet is not necessarily the most reliable source of information, but you can get the general idea, especially if you see consistent things. Like when I look up, let's just say the history of a certain Kung Fu style, and I see one person says it was created in 1900 and everybody else says it was created in 1500. I'm going to go with the majority rather than the one offshoot. But, just take it with a grain of salt and do some research and find some books and things that'll, enlighten you and help you to better understand and appreciate what we practice. With that said, feet together, right fist, left palm, show courtesy. Thank you guys for coming out. Make sure you practice at home. And next class, I'll do my best to not lecture as much so that we can get more practice in the form. And yeah, see you all next time. And stay safe.